Hello, and welcome to today's webcast brought to you by the Insight Microsoft commercial team. Due to unavoidable circumstances today, Elliot will not be able to present. However, we are pleased to be joined by Jesse Anderson, Manager of Microsoft Services today. I'm Blair Loveland, your Microsoft Readiness Specialist at Insight, and will be your moderator for today. Before we begin, I want to cover a few housekeeping items. This webcast is designed to be interactive between you and the presenters. The webcast console you're looking at can be completely customized. You can resize or move any of the windows that you have open. If you have any questions during the webcast, you can click on the Q&A widget at the bottom and submit your questions. All questions from this webcast will be captured, and there will be a Q&A during the last few minutes of the presentation. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please visit the webcast help guide by clicking on the question mark icon at below the presentation window. The help guide covers common technical issues. Now I would like to turn this over to our presenter, Jesse Anderson. Jesse, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Blair. And thank you, everybody, for joining. As Blair mentioned, my name is Jesse Anderson. I manage our Insight Cloud Care practice within Insight. And today we're here to talk about how Insight can help you drive a positive return on your investment with Azure. So we're very appreciative of everybody's time. With that, I'm going to jump right in. And as Blair mentioned, I do want to point out that this is, we will have time for questions at the end, but as we go through it, I believe, Blair, what's the right term or method of engagement there? Is it to enter in the chat window or?
Yes, there is a chat window where the attendees can drop their questions into, and we'll see them, and we'll make sure they get answered at the end of the webinar.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Blair. So with that, I will kick it off and get started. So Insight has a long and very healthy relationship with Microsoft. And why this is important, one thing I would point out is that this slide is currently being updated. We see a lot of our accolades here from Microsoft, but what this really represents to us is the long-term relationship and level of expertise that we have with Microsoft technologies. One thing to add to this that we're very proud of and excited about is that Microsoft has also recognized us for the 2020 Partner of the Year and Customer Experience Partner of the Year. Two things that we're incredibly proud of, especially because they represent our dedication to our customers and making sure that everything we do is driving positive experience for our customers and helping customers adapt to a changing technology landscape. One thing to know about Insight when we talk about Azure is that we are one of only 70 partners globally that have been recognized as an Azure Expert MSP or Managed Service Provider. On the slide, the other thing here is we have a quote here from Gabriella Schuster, who is the Vice President of the organization within Microsoft that manages the partner community. And to me, this quote is especially important because it speaks to not just the awards that we've won in the accolades, but to our approach. And she says that our approach to cloud transformation allows businesses to get the most out of their investments, people, processes, and technology. And that's really, I think, at the core of what we want to talk about today, is how working with Insight, with Microsoft technologies in Azure, we really do aim to make sure that we're helping you get the most out of that investment and drive that positive return on investment. So as a top Microsoft partner, we talked about the awards, but I think one of the things that's more important to me is the competencies that we have. And you can see a list to the right. They become very granular and they're very technical. And why this is important to me is that the competencies represent investments that we've made in our people, in our training, and certifications of our individuals to be able to deliver and adapt to changing customer needs. So you can see, the breadth of these, they can be very specific, but the breadth of certifications that we have, I think, speaks very well to our ability to really respond in real time to customer needs and to be able to manage an end-to-end relationship in a technical manner as well. So as we move into Azure and as customers consider Azure or are already working in Azure, we definitely recognize that cloud is a journey, right? There are a lot of steps in that journey. But the most important part for us, one thing to note, is that one thing is constant through that entire process, and that is the need for customers to control and optimize the cloud costs and increase spend visibility in the upper right-hand corner. The reason for that is that from day one, optimizing that engagement and making sure that you have the ability to see what you're spending, understanding why you're spending it, and understand how you can influence, your consumption profile is going to be critical from day one, because starting off on the right foot and making sure you have a clear understanding of what can move to the cloud and how to move efficiently to the cloud is going to help you. It's going to pay dividends the entire way as you grow your infrastructure, as you move more into the cloud. That is going to be the constant in every single step of your cloud journey. And to speak to that, this one quote from Gartner, I think it really sums it up, that in 2020, they see that they anticipate the cloud market's going to grow to $266 billion. With that, on the right, you can see $35 billion of that cloud consumption will be wasted, which is an incredible number. And so why is that? So where we see wasted spend, quote unquote wasted spend, is that as customers move to the cloud, oftentimes they move with oversized workloads that, do not necessarily, that are outsized for their actual needs. We see idle consumption where there are resources running and basically just creating a growing consumption number that are unnecessary. We see rogue consumption where there is a workload performing in unanticipated ways that's driving a consumption up. And as consumption increases, so does spend. So being able to understand all of this is critical to being able to maximize your return on investment, as well as being able to understand how to responsibly move through the cloud and how to feel like you are in full control of your cloud environment. So today's market leader. So this slide, so the key thing I want to point out here is that Insight is committed to playing a role in all of these, right? Customers need to identify public cloud workloads associated with your existing environment, be able to tie budgets to those workloads and understand how your consumption is going to influence those budgets, being able to monitor and have full transparency into your consumption history, and then proactively govern that consumption to make sure that you have policies in place to notify you and to be able to react to any changes in consumption activity. So how do we do this? So really, how we help customers comes in two parts. Number one is helping customers assess their existing workloads to be able to establish the right initial footprint. And then number two, the ongoing relationship that we have in terms of day-to-day management of that workload. And as we grow our relationship, being able to make sure that on an ongoing basis, we don't just start with the assessment, we continue to have that conversation throughout our entire relationship and throughout your cloud journey. So I'll start talking about cloud economics. And there are two ways we can do this. One is with an on-prem assessment, and the other one is looking at an already existing Azure workload. So I'm going to start by talking about an on-prem cloud economics assessment. And this is really, I think, a critical component, maybe the most critical component of making a decision in terms of what you're going to move to the cloud and how you would move to the cloud. So how we do this is we conduct a series of scans, and we scan your existing environment to understand it. That comes in two parts, right? The first scan we do is to identify cloud-ready workloads. So we look at your environment, we look at everything that's running, and we identify which workloads in your on-prem environment can be moved to the cloud. The second part is the most important, right? Which is we then, after we have the information of cloud-ready workloads, we do an analysis and scan to size those workloads for cloud. And why that's so important is just to share a little bit of our experience here. Doing hundreds of these assessments, that we actually see that most customers are only using 10 to 20% of their compute power in their on-prem environment. So for those customers, if you were to just lift and shift back to the cloud, right off the bat, you're going to be over-consuming, and it's going to be unnecessary because the way you would size your capacity for an on-prem workload versus cloud is so different. So in terms of doing those scans, it's so important, number one, to identify those cloud-ready workloads, and number two, to make sure that you're getting proper advice in terms of how to size those for cloud. It's a very different conversation. And that is something that our cloud economics team, again, we do hundreds of these. The key part of an on-prem assessment, again, is this is an entry point. By doing that, it starts the conversation. We can help you identify what the next steps would be to move into the cloud and to move to Azure. The second component, or the second approach, is for customers already in Azure. So for already in Azure workloads, we have a full-blown cloud economics practice that then scans that environment, takes a look at it, and really analyzes it for any possible savings. So while you're already in Azure, there will also be opportunities there for right-sizing the resources that you have there, for understanding the activity and some of the services that are running, and understanding if there are ways to adjust those spend. They also look at the licensing footprint to understand if there can be optimization there. So it's a very robust approach, both for on-prem and for customers that are already in Azure. So in terms of the consumption piece of it, how do you consume Azure from Insight? So this slide shows what we call Insight Cloud Care. And this is our Azure offering built on top of Microsoft's CSP program. And the key thing here is that it really is it's not just the consumption piece. This is how you consume, but it also comes with built-in managed services. Those managed services, as you can see here, we have a Cloud Success Manager. I'll speak in more detail about that, but that is where we bring the ongoing relationship and where we can continue to have that cost optimization and efficiency conversation. We also provide 24/7 technical support, 365 days a year. And that is really important because in addition to managing your workload, we're there for your technical support needs. We are as I mentioned at the very beginning, we are an Azure Expert MSP. We have world-class technical support, and that is just included in the Azure consumption, right? When you buy through Insight Cloud Care, you're getting the ongoing optimization conversations with the Cloud Success Manager, 24/7 support, and pay-as-you-go consumption. So I spoke a minute ago about the Cloud Success Managers. So they are, they are world-class resources. They are dedicated to really the post-sale, post-transaction component of a customer engagement. So they are going to be there from you. They're going to be there for you from onboarding all the way through helping you plan for changes to your environment. So in terms of onboarding, they will be on the call. They'll help you set up a subscription. They will help understand your plan and how you want to approach moving workloads to Azure, whether it's from on-prem or from an already existing Azure environment. They're going to help with spend management. They will help you understand the tools available to you in terms of being able to view your consumption and report on your consumption, and they will help you identify and establish best practices to govern that. And then in ongoing management, they have office hours calls where customers can call in real time, ask questions, engage with them, and they will they share best practices from what they've seen in terms of managing all of our Azure customers. By identifying best practices, we aim to share those with all of our Azure customers. So consumption monitoring, what is it? So we use a variety of tools in the back end to be able to provide you with a granular view of your spend. So one of the challenges in moving to the cloud is that often cloud billing can be very vague or, not very intuitive to be able to look at and understand an invoice. So what we do is we supplement that with very detailed reporting so that you can report on your spend, you can set budgets, and you can look at either a specific service level, what is being consumed by a service, by a specific machine, and it gives you full control of that. So part of what the cloud success managers will do is educate you on how to use the reporting tools so that you have full control over understanding your cloud spend in a real-time basis. I spoke a minute ago about 24/7 technical support. So again, this is included in the Insight Cloud Care subscription. One thing to note here that I think is important is that you may have heard about a Microsoft Premier support engagement that can be very expensive. Understand that while we have world-class, full-blown managed service environment, we actually also use our own Microsoft Premier contract for any escalations that require Microsoft's immediate engagement. If there's a service outage or anything specific that's native to Microsoft that they need to adjust. And as we spoke to earlier, with our expansive relationship with Microsoft, using that Premier contract, that's something that you also can leverage through our technical support. If and when we need to escalate to Microsoft, you get the full power of our Premier contract behind it as well. So beyond, managed services, so I think the key thing that I want to speak to here is that why, as you're considering moving to Azure or considering who to do business with in terms of your cloud spend, understand that managed services are a key component of that. And as an Azure Expert MSP, the value in terms of doing business with a managed service provider is significant. That number one, in terms of responding to your immediate needs, through our certifications, through the breadth of our footprint in managed services, we're going to be able to adapt to any of those needs. And our cloud success managers are going to help navigate any issue or any question or any project idea that you bring to them, and going to help you navigate our entire managed service environment and managed service organization to make sure that we get the right resources to you. And lastly, in terms of Insight Cloud Care, we recognize that customers over time are going to grow in the cloud. And as we've been speaking about it, we've been speaking about the essentials level of acquisition of CSP consumption. But also understand that as your needs grow and as your cloud infrastructure potentially matures into more significant needs like infrastructure as a service or platform as a service level support, that those offerings also exist within Insight. And the cloud success managers are there to help, number one, get customers established and comfortable and transition to the cloud. But they're also going to be able to help navigate through those other steps of maturity or growth or just investment, right? Not every customer wants infrastructure as a service, no matter what their size and maturity is. But those that do, we can entertain that conversation. We have an offering that fits that, as well as platform as a service. So with that does bring me to the end of the presentable content. I want to open it up for questions. I hope that was beneficial. If there was anything that was missing that you were hoping to see or expected to see, we've got plenty of time for questions and to be able to address any other concerns or needs that you may have.
All right, thank you, Jesse. Now, if you have any questions, the Q&A window is open and available. I don't currently see any questions in the Q&A window, so we'll just give it another minute or so. And if you have any questions, please feel free to answer them. If it's about CSP, about Insight, any of the content you saw today, we are here for you. So please let us know your questions. So we'll just leave it open for another minute here, and we're here for your questions. Hey, Jesse, while we're waiting for any questions to come through the window here, what's the best way to reach out to the Microsoft team?
Yeah,
or
so
yourself,
I think
the questions.
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly share my email. People can reach out to me at jesse.anderson@insight.com about any of the content that we've gone over. I think the best mode of engagement is generally to reach out directly to your Insight rep if you have one. If not, you can also reach out to Microsoft Cloud Care at insight.com. And I don't know if that is something, can I just put that in the chat, or can you, Blair? I don't know where I can post that, both of those addresses for people.
Yeah, we can go ahead and make sure that the attendees get that information as well. Now, I don't see any questions in the chat window, but again, if you do have any questions after the conclusion of today's webinar, you can reach out to Jesse. You can also reach out to myself, blair.loveland@insight.com. Or again, reach out to your Insight account executive, and they can make sure that the Microsoft team gets engaged to determine what the best solution is for your needs. So having said that, we appreciate everyone joining today, and keep in mind that reach out to your AEs as well. They may have sent you some further invites for upcoming webinars. In fact, this webinar series is a monthly recurring webinar, with various topics on Insight Cloud Care for Azure. So if you have not yet received registered for the series, we have it currently scheduled through December. Please go back into your email, your registration invite, and do so, because we're going to treat topics are going to change up every month a little bit, and we also are having a simultaneous series, a more specific topical invites. We have a webinar coming up next week on Windows Virtual Desktop. So again, if you haven't received that invite from your account executive, please reach out to them and ask for that invite. And next month it'll be around Azure Sentinel. Those invites should be going out probably the next week or so. So we have plenty of good content for you guys, because we do want to add value to you as your trusted Microsoft partner at Insight here. Having said that, we hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday, and thank you again for attending today.
Thank you, everybody.